This diagram represents a staggering modern statistic regarding the Catholic Church. When surveyed, up to 70% of practicing Catholics say they believe the Eucharist is a symbol. When a friend once mentioned to the American writer Flannery O'Connor that the Eucharist was a wonderful symbol, she bluntly replied, "If it's only a symbol, I say to hell with it." She was defending the official claim of the Catholic Church. According to their theology, the bread and wine at Mass do not represent Jesus. They are the physical source and summit of the entire Christian life. This literalism dates to the Gospel of John, chapter 6. When the crowds questioned how Jesus could give them his flesh to eat, he didn't pivot to a metaphor. Instead, he used the specific Greek verb trogein, which means to gnaw or chew. The institution is built upon an invisible claim. Because it challenges the limits of human perception, this teaching has threatened to alienate followers from the very beginning, making doubt a constant risk to the faith. By the 13th century, this risk reached a breaking point. The Berengarian heresy was sweeping across Europe, eroding belief in the real presence of Christ on the altar, among the masses and the priesthood. When followers demand physical proof of a spiritual transformation, the Church faces a problem. They have to protect and prove a miracle that remains hidden from the naked eye. The response to this crisis began with Saint Juliana of Liège. She was a deeply intellectual 13th century nun who harbored a theological secret for 2 decades. Starting at the age of 16, she began experiencing a recurring vision, a bright full moon marred by a distinct dark spot. Juliana claimed that Jesus eventually revealed the meaning of the image. The moon represented the Church's liturgical calendar, and the dark spot was the lack of a specific feast day dedicated to honoring the Eucharist. She quietly pushed for this new feast, eventually sharing her vision with an archdeacon named James Pantaleon. She had set a dormant theological trap that would spring years later. In 1263, a priest named Father Peter of Prague was suffering his own crisis. He was plagued by doubt about whether the Eucharist was truly God. Desperate to resolve his skepticism, he went on a pilgrimage to Rome. Along the way, he stopped in the Italian town of Bolsena to celebrate Mass at the altar of St. Christina. As he prayed the words of consecration, the unleavened bread visibly transformed into human flesh and began bleeding, soaking the white linen cloth. Terrified, Father Peter wrapped up the bleeding host and immediately rushed to the Pope, who was residing in a nearby city. The Pope in Orvieto was Urban IV, the same James Pantaleon who had supported St. Juliana's visions years before taking the papacy. When Pope Urban saw the blood-stained cloth, he fell to his knees. He viewed this as the divine mandate required to officially establish the worldwide solemnity of Corpus Christi in 1264. A physical miracle requires a theological framework. To write the prayers and music for this new feast, the Pope called upon St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas needed to systematically explain the physical impossibility of the Eucharist. He codified a concept to explain how bread becomes God, transubstantiation. This diagram illustrates his approach. He separated reality into 2 parts, starting with the accidents, the external physical properties that human senses measure. Then there is the substance, the core reality existing separately. At consecration, the outer accidents remain static, while the underlying substance is replaced by the divinity of Christ. Aquinas mapped the physics of a miracle. He provided the intellectual armor necessary to defend Corpus Christi against future generations of skeptics. With the theology established, Corpus Christi moved the Eucharist out from behind the altar and paraded it directly into the public square. The traditions of the feast are global. It is reflected in everything from vibrant Polish folk costumes and flower carpets to massive South American processions. When the host is placed in a golden monstrance and carried through the streets, it serves as a public declaration of the real presence. This public display shifts the focus from the ritual to its effect. What happens to a person who takes this physical presence into their own body? St. Augustine documented a profound biological difference between normal meals and the Eucharist. When you eat normal food, your body breaks it down to become part of you. But consuming the Eucharist works in reverse. It assimilates the believer into the body of Christ. That 70% statistic from the beginning suggests that the skepticism Father Peter faced in 1263 has never truly vanished. For 7 centuries, the Church used the structure of this feast to confront that specific doubt. The Feast of Corpus Christi demonstrates the Church's response to doubt. They took a difficult, literal claim and moved it from a private ritual into a global, public confrontation.